Hello and welcome to my tutorial on OCR biology. Today we're going to talk about cells and living processes. And first up we're going to talk about the characteristics of living things. That all living organisms have 7 traits of living: movement, respiration, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, reproduction and growth. Living cells contain special structures that carry out their particular functions, or organelles. And organelles are characteristic parts that do roles. And look into the diagram to the right, they all have different functions. A lysosome contains enzymes, whereas the nuclear envelope contains pores to allow RNA and DNA to pass through. It also contains rough endoplasmic reticulum to synthesize proteins, and mitochondria make ATP, and the nucleus contains DNA. So lots of different parts of a cell can perform different functions, and same for the plants here. Chloroplasts allow the synthesis of glucose and ATP synthesis. And if we move on to part 2, the division of labour is like the fact that each organelle has specific roles within the cell, and the fact that they're all working together to perform one common role to live, grow and reproduce. And I'm going to go through some examples of division of labour. So, for example, the cytoskeleton, they contain a network of protein fibres that keep the cell's shape stable. Some of the fibres can relax and contract and allow the cell to move, and they also move organelles around inside the cells. There are other fibres called microtubules, made of a protein called tubulin. Microtubules may be used to move a microorganism through a liquid, or to waft the liquid past the cell. Other proteins move the organelles and other things along the fibres. ATP is used to drive these movements. So, if you want to know what a cytoskeleton looks like, we'll have a quick look on the internet, and I'll show you one. So the cytoskeleton, quite basically, looks like this. They're very thin, long tubule fibres, and they are very thin, but they allow the cell to contract. They're almost like the highway of the cell, because proteins can bond onto this, and they can do loads of amazing things with it. And if we go back, this is what I mean by the highway, as it were, so that they're all interlinked to the different organelles, and it allows them to transport throughout the cell. It's in diagrams, it's very confusing to just think that the cytoplasm is open space, and that isn't very true, as you can see in the diagram. So we'll just go back now and look. So ATP is used to drive the movements. Now ATP is almost like energy, the energy currency for any cell, and it just releases energy for these processes to occur. You learn about it in more detail in A2, but for now you just need to know that ATP is used, and you need to appreciate that it exists. And Flagella and Cilia are like hair-like extensions that enable the cell to move substances like mucus, and they contain 9 microtubules arranged in a circle, 2 of them in a central bundle. So we'll go back to Google and have another look at some of these pictures. So it's just basically the floppy, the long tail, but it's stimulated, and they move in an oscillating circular motion, almost a bit like this. So they spin. So there's your sperm tail, and they just spin in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, and this movement is what allows them to move around. So there, and two in the central bundle. It looks a bit like this. And that allows it to be mobile. So two in the middle, and 9 of these bundles on the outside. So every 2 dots is 1 bundle. And the vesicles are membrane-bound sacs found within cells, and they're used to carry many different substances around the cells. And they could also be used for cell stability in plants, and what makes the plant cell turgid. Plant cell rules, they're made of cellulose, and they form this network of strands that makes a very strong protective layer, and it's held by the pressure of the fluid inside the cell, which is turgor pressure, and it supports the entire plant. So we'll just look at the cell wall. So it sort of looks like this here, sort of like a little brick wall that contains all the cytoplasm and the cell membrane, and it just keeps it all nice and tight in the cell, but basically, bit like people in a party. You need walls in order to keep them inside, otherwise they'll just fall out the house. The house wouldn't even be there, but anyway. I hope you found this tutorial useful. There is some more information in the OCR AS Biology textbook, or if you go to the YouTube channel OCR AS Biology, just type that in the search and you should get it. They do very quick revision videos on OCR AS Biology, and that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.